Hi, am I on the air?
Yep.
Fuck.
Thanks.
I've been in the danger zone.
He got a bat.
Minus 5 stars.
Mango.
Huh?
We got to use that.
Jeff Harvey.
How much does this guy weigh?
Play.
Play 21.
Red Dragon!
All right, what is going down, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new edition of Am I Still on the Air? You know what it is, Am I Still on the Air? Is the spin-off podcast where we basically take one specific topic and break it down a little bit deeper than we do on the regular show. And so we got a very special episode tonight because for the first time on the podcast is actually my brother from a same mother. Yeah.
Pretty sure it's the same.
Yeah, I think it's the same. Sorry, I was trying to be funny, but then I was like, you know what? It's not a different mother. It is the same mother. So my brother over here, Mr. Ben Affleck, Jordan Owens, is in the house. So what up, man?
Hello, Mr. Mega. Very happy to be here. Am I on the air? Are we still on the air?
We're still on the air.
Okay, good.
We are still on the air because that's the name of this one here. So we're doing something a little fun here. You know, we're recording this live from the Red Dragons Radio Studios here in Tucson, Arizona. He's visiting for the Merry Christmas holiday season and actually getting ready to take off and head back to Florida tomorrow. But we wanted to crack out a nice little special podcast here, live and indirect while we're here. It is December the 27th. Technically kind of the 26th. It just rolled into the 27th because
like
it's midnight.
Second ago.
Yeah, because it's midnight now, so we'll go with the 27th, I guess. And you know what happens at the end of the year? We basically look back and we reflect. And what we decided to do here is do our top 10 movies of 2017. So there's been a lot of movies. You know, I was going back, taking a look. You know, there was a lot of good stuff. I'd say it was a pretty good year overall, for the most part. Definitely walked out of the theater a couple times with some disappointments this year.
As always.
As always, I think you're never going to have a perfect year. But for the most part, I feel like I at least enjoyed somewhat everything that I saw for the most part.
I could usually do a top 20, you know, if I had to.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty easy to do. I know you wanted to throw in some worst stuffs as well.
Call me a hater.
I wanted to keep this a little positive, so I'm not doing any worst. So we'll keep this positive with the top 10 best. What I think is going to be funny is we have not divulged our list in any sort of way. I do know, though, our taste is quite different at times. And, you know, unlike the other guests that I usually have on this show where we kind of, in some form or fashion, sync up to a certain extent, I think you're going to be the most widespread opposite opinion on some things. What I will state for myself, and really just in general, with a lot of top 10 lists, you know, people go for the very Oscar kind of driven movies. You know, the best movie this year is The Phantom Thread, and like, you know, crap like that. And I'm just like,
Phantom Thread's not on your list?
No, it's not on the list. Spoiler alert. You know, neither is The Post. You know, things like that where, like, you know, everybody kind of reserves these really just kind of artsy-fartsy kind of movies for their top 10. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but as I do with my reviews of movies, a top 10 for me really comes down to my theater experience. You know, what movie, my number one is representing the movie I had the most fun with. The movie I walked out of saying, I want to go back and see this again. I'm not saying it's the best made movie in the world. I'm not saying it's the best directed. I'm not saying the cinematography is the greatest. I'm not getting into all of that. My top 10 is purely represented of my feeling watching the movie in the theater, my experience coming out with friends, talking about it, having a great time. And when I go back and I rank it, that's how I was very easily able to come up with my 10 best just based on that theater experience. So that's where I'm coming from with it. Anything special with where you're coming from with it?
No, I can respect that, definitely. I do enjoy your outlook on movies usually, even though we do differ sometimes. I think other years we might have a big differing list. I think this year we might have a lot of agreements. Maybe.
I don't know.
Some of the order, maybe my first couple, I don't know. But, other years, yeah, I loved Room, and I loved Spotlight. But I don't know, maybe I just haven't seen it yet. Phantom Thread I did not get to see yet. I will see the post because I love me some Tom Hanks. But I think this year maybe won't be the craziest difference between the two of us.
Okay, we will see. We're going to jump right into it. The way this is going to work is basically I'm going to throw it on over to Jordan. He's going to count down. We're going to start, obviously, at 10, and we're going to work our way to our number ones. He's going to take the first half here and do 10 through 6, and then I'll do my 10 through 6. If he seems to mention a movie that I have on my list, I will not divulge what number it is on my list, but I will let you know it is on my list, and we'll kind of chime in a little bit and talk about the film, and kind of we'll take it from there. So, without any further ado, let's start it off with your number 10.
All right, well, actually, first off here, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I loved so many movies this year. I just want to do some quick honorable mentions. Some honorable mentions. I won't go into detail. Just, I don't feel at home in this world anymore. Logan Lucky, Big Sick, John Wick 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 not make my top 10. But really love them, as well as other movies. They keep going. Like I said, top 20, maybe even a 25. But let's go with number 10 now. All right, we're going to start off with probably a movie that's not on your list. I'm guessing Ingrid Goes West.
Not on my list.
Not on your list. I really dug this movie, man. Aubrey Plaza she's an obsessed girl who just wants a friend, man. And she goes to try to kind of trick Elizabeth Olsen into being friendship, and it works out for a little while, but obviously things start to blow up, and she keeps going, man. Really interesting performances from her. Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son's good in this as well. O'Shea Jackson pops up as someone she kind of uses, but maybe he's a love interest as well. This is just a really fun, quirky, kind of psychotic movie. You're shocked at some of the things she does, but you're in it the whole way, man. You're just waiting for that next thing Aubrey Plaza does. I think, despite I liked her a lot in the past from other things like Mike and Dave and, of course, Parks and Rec, I think this is a breakout performance for her. I really enjoy this. I say check it out. It's a fun movie. It's a fun, like, what kind of movie.
Well, I can say I have not checked it out, but I was intrigued somewhat by the trailer. I only know one friend of mine that did see it, and he hated it.
Oh, geez.
So that was the only thing I have going off of it. So I wasn't, inclined to hurry up and jump into it. But, I'll catch it sooner rather than later. I do like the cast. Big fan of Elizabeth Olsen. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch.
So I will check it out sooner.
My number 9 here is one of my favorite. What?
Okay. I'm scared every time.
You scared of my list?
I'm scared of your list because I'm like, what kind of shit is he gonna pull out now?
I thought there was an audio problem. You're just scared of what I'm gonna say. Number 9 ended up being the end of what was surprisingly to me a great trilogy. It's War for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay. And I'll say, if I had honorable mentions, this was probably my number 11.
Really? So close.
Yes,
close to
very,
10.
very close to making my top 10.
I wasn't super excited about the James Franco movie. In fact, I think I might have even seen it on DVD. I think I skipped on the theater for the first one. And that was a really good tale. And what's cool about this trilogy, too, is they kind of stand on their own to an extent. I mean, there's an overlapping story, but they keep going kind of a different way with each movie. And I thought this was maybe, in a weird way, my least favorite of the trilogy. It's hard to say, but still just a really just well-done movie. Again, from beginning to end, you're in it all the way. I remember kind of laughing a few years ago when people were like, give Andy Serkis an Oscar, but damn, the dude does deserve some sort of, like, honorable Oscar for all the stuff he's done, especially in this trilogy now. And, yeah, just, again, I thought this was a befitting end to... I mean, not even an end, maybe. I mean, it could keep going. We could finally see the real transition now of, someone coming to the Earth and going, what the hell happened here? But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, this would have been probably my number 11. Big fan of this series. I think when you put these 3 movies together, it is one of the best trilogies of all time.
Yeah. Surprisingly.
Andy Serkis, same thing. I think Caesar is one of the greatest characters of all time, and he's a fucking monkey.
It's a monkey.
So it's crazy to me. I would agree with you. I think it's probably my least favorite of the 3, weirdly. But that's not to knock this movie in any sort of the way. I know I gave it like 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason I didn't give it 5 was just because the movie was called War for the Planet of the Apes and wasn't quite much of a war. It was kind of a swerve by that title. I expected a full all-out war and did not get it. But yeah, that, I was never a fan of the original Planet of the Apes movies. I reluctantly was like, this looks kind of cool when the James Franco one came out. checked it out and absolutely loved it. Gave it 5 out of 5, and the second one awesome too as well. So I love this trilogy, and this was one of the greatest movies of the year for sure.
Yeah, I just rewatched the second one. It's still really good, and it shows you, like we both said, we kind of agree that it's maybe the worst of the three in our opinion, and it shows you how good of a trilogy it is that it's still in my top 10 and almost your top 10. Shows you how good it is. My number 8, we might agree that this is a great movie. I know we'll disagree though that this is the first great DC movie. It's Wonder Woman coming in at number 8.
Okay.
Sigh of what, but yeah, again,
I disagree that it's the first good DC movie.
I said great. I said great.
Oh, I disagree that it's the first great one because... Are you talking about from the DCEU?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Once again, I disagree because the first movie out the gate of the DCEU is Man of Steel, which is an all-time classic. So,
no.
Yes.
I can't agree. That's all, man.
All-time classic. But yes, Wonder Woman, I will say, is on my list, but I can't tell you where.
I'd be interested in seeing where it cracks. This again shows you, I think, of at least for the top 10 or 20 of a tied race. Because at one point in the year, this was probably my number 2 or 4, and it's kind of slid down a little bit by the end of the year now. But again, it's a really enjoyable film, man. Is it okay? First of all, I'm going to be the 1,000th person to ask this, probably 1 millionth. Godot or Godot? You've heard both?
Yes. I prefer Godot.
Godot does sound real.
But you know what, though? I was watching some press stuff for Justice League, and they said Godot every single time, and it's not like she ever corrected them, and I think that they would know.
Maybe she doesn't
on a
even
red
know.
carpet and stuff like that. Yeah, I was always under the impression it was Godot, and everybody that said Godot was wrong, but it seems to be Godot is correct. So yeah, Gal Gadot. But I think I'll still continue to say Godot because it just sounds cooler.
I'll just say Gail was great. She's really great, super charming, and without giving away spoilers, I love the relationship between her and Chris Pine. And a lot of times that feels shoehorned in to comedies and even action movies where we gotta have a love interest. This felt genuine. Like you cared about the connection they had, and not even necessarily at first in a loving way, just in like a respectful, kind of way of these two understanding and getting to understanding each other. And it suffers from a lot of the same thing as other movies with the villain. You're like, do you really care about the villain in the end? No, but man, did I care about the journey to him and the characters surrounding it and this world that they built. So yeah, Wonder Woman, number 8.
Awesome. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I do mine. But yeah, great movie, and we'll see where it falls on my side.
I'm interested to hear a little bit more about it later. Number 7, it's another remake. It's It. Stephen King's It. Another movie that I had high expectations for. I was like, all right, this is a movie. You hear a remake and you either go, why? Or you go, okay. And this was a movie that I went, okay, that can be updated. You know what I mean? I haven't read the book because it's 4 billion pages long, but I've heard good things. I heard it's really scary, and if you rewatch that old one, it's definitely an old 1990 TV movie to a large degree.
It's pretty bad.
So I enjoyed this, and this is the best group of kids, man. It's a great group of kid actors in this. Pennywise is indeed scary. I thought it was good. I just enjoyed this. Another one, like most of these movies, man, from beginning to end, this has you. You're not ready to leave the theater. You're ready for that sequel, that's 10 years later or however many years later, 30 years. I'm ready for it, man, and I hope it's soon, and I'm sure it will be because it made $1 bajillion, which I'm glad, because it's one of those movies, too, that you kind of go, I want to see more movies like this. I love a good horror movie. Yeah. I see so many bad ones. It's great to see a good one.
Plenty of bad ones. I agree. It is on my top 10 as well. So, spoiler alert again. So cool. I'm glad to see a couple connections there. Shocking me already that this one made it.
See?
I agree with everything you said on it. We will get that sequel in 2019. Get to see it played out with the adults, which is going to be very exciting. So, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But, great pick.
Here's another one I know you will have, maybe higher. I don't know. We'll see. This is one we actually saw together. Father Figures. No, I'm sorry. Not Father Figures.
Oh, no.
Star Wars Last Jedi,
All right,
which we just saw
It is on my top 10 as well.
I had no doubt. This would crack yours. It cracked mine. Force Awakens, man, I just had a smile from ear to ear, and this one pretty much the same, man. I've been waiting to catch back up with these characters. Daisy Ridley. I felt like John Boyega was kind of given a side mission, very much so, but still, even his side mission, whether you can say it was worthwhile or not, I had fun. I mean, I can't say like I was bored, with him and I forget the new character's name. Rose, there you go. His little side mission with her and the stuff. Get to see Mark Hamill back as Luke for the first time since 1980, whatever. And
what are you talking about? We saw him for like 5 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
And I really enjoyed.
Honorable mention for the Disaster Artist. That was
did not make your top 10?
Did not, but honorable mention for sure.
And it might be someday in my list. I sadly have not seen that. Of course, there's a handful of films that maybe could have been in. I don't know. I really enjoyed, too, the follow-up of Ridley and Driver's connection. And the tease of, turning, both of them kind of turning. You know what I mean? Both of them struggling with it still. I really enjoyed their connection in this movie. And, yeah, just a fun movie again.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It is, I will say it's higher up on my list. But it is on my list, so another great pick.
Let's hear your 10 through 6, man. This is your turn.
We're already through 6. Alrighty. So my number 10, I tell you, man, watching this one here, it's another sequel, and when it came out, I was excited, but I wasn't like, oh man, this is gonna be the shit, or this is gonna be awesome. Like, I was excited, but my expectations, I think, were kind of middle of the road, which was kind of weird because I love the first one so much. But I walked out of this thing with the biggest smile on my face. I think I watched this movie with a grin from ear to ear the entire 2 hours and just really, really dug it. It worked. It clicked with me. So it makes my top 10. At number 10 is Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I just love this damn movie, man. It was so much fun. If I had to wrap it up in a word, it's fun. We had the additional cast of Julianne Moore and Channing Tatum and Jeff Bridges and the dude that plays Pablo Escobar on Narcos. Just really great stuff all the way around. I just thought this thing was action-packed. The way the music goes with it. I mean, there's a fight right in the beginning that's played out to Prince music that just kills it. Like I said, man, I just remember watching this movie in the theater and just smiling from ear to ear literally the entire time. Absolutely loved it. This one was very divisive, though. If you go back and you look at, like, reviews, some people absolutely hated it and said, like, oh, man, it's nothing like the first. And you know what? It's weird to me because we don't want movies to be duplicates of their original ones, and then I feel like sometimes these filmmakers take a risk and they do something a little bit different, and then everybody bitches that it's like so off the path, but if you would have just made a carbon copy of the first movie, then everybody would have said, oh, you just remade the fucking first movie. So I love what he did with it. Screw the haters. This was enough easily to make my top 10. Just got it on Blu-ray a couple weeks ago. Great movie. I love Kingsman: The Golden Circle, so that's my number 10.
It's a fun movie, man. I do agree. It's my honorable mention after my honorable mentions. Just barely kind of out of my top 20. I did have fun. It is being shipped to my house as we speak. Got some Amazon gift cards, so I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I think it's also probably a rewatchable movie, like the first one as well. And yeah, man, I do agree with you that I give props to the director and the writers for doing something different, man. Because it is true. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You don't want to do the Hangover trilogy where it's the same thing. Nope. Just take out this, insert this. So I do give it props, man, and I think it's definitely a movie worth checking out.
Easily. All right, my number 9 is a movie you did mention already. So here's where one of mine falls. Coming in number 9 for me is It. So it cracks it in there. Exactly, just kind of reiterating what you said. I mean, I was looking forward to this, but same thing. I was just like, oh, this should be really good. Expectations kind of middle of the road. Just because most of the time we do end up kind of being let down by these horror movies. They never quite hit all the right notes. This movie also was a troubled production. I mean, originally it was supposed to be made by Cary Fukunaga, who did True Detective, and he ended up dropping out, and then they had casted that Will Poulsen, or the weird little kid from We're the Millers, was supposed to be Pennywise.
I can see that, by the way.
I was actually down for it, but he ended up dropping out, and there was so much movement that I was like, I don't know, man, I don't know how this is going to play out. And then they got the director of Mama, and I actually really like Mama. I think that's a great horror movie. And I'll tell you, man, they killed it. They killed it. Literally every single aspect works in this film, from the scares to Pennywise to the kids. The kids are incredible. Kids are the number one problem in a lot of movies because they're usually shitty actors and they're just come off annoying. But every kid in this thing was great. We had the kid from Stranger Things, and then then one of the kids just went off and did the Me, Myself, and I TV show. There's just a lot of good stuff. It just everything, man. It had humor, it had heart, it had scares. It just really hit it on every single level for me. I so cannot wait for the sequel. I can't wait to see who they cast as the grown-up versions of these kids.
That's a fun discussion.
It's a great discussion. I know my campaign is still to get Jessica Chastain to be Bev.
I'm down with that.
And she's even down with that.
Really?
She came out a couple months ago on Twitter and stuff saying that she would totally be down to do it. There's a connection there. She was in Mama, so she has a direction. She's worked with that director. They have a relationship.
It's gotta happen now.
I think it's got to happen. So, that was the one thing. When I walked out of that film, I said, you got to get Jessica Chastain as Bev. It's all I could see in my head. And hopefully it comes true. The rest of it is up to debate if they just go with more kind of unknown actors or if they do, try to cast very big. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm looking so forward to it, Chapter 2.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right. Coming in at number 8 for me, this was actually one of your honorable mentions. So coming in number 8 for me is John Wick 2.
I know you like that one a lot.
Loved John Wick 2, man. This was my favorite movie of the year at the time when it came out. Unfortunately, it came out all the way back in February, I believe. So, there was a lot that's come out since. But at the time, I was like, this is going to be the movie to beat. It was a 5-star movie for me. I'm a massive fan of the original John Wick. What they did with this, what Keanu Reeves does with this, the action, the set pieces, everything is so real and gritty. I love it. And John Wick Chapter 2 took it to me to a whole nother level. This movie, I think, has one of the best opening sequences of any film ever. The whole sequence of him just trying to get his car back is just one of the greatest things ever. And we continue. It gets bigger. It gets better. All the fights, everything that it does, even all the way it leaves you at the end where you're just like, oh my God, I need to see number 3 right now. The way that it leaves off. I can't hype this movie enough. If you're a fan of John Wick, the first one, go see this one. It, to me, makes number 1 feel boring in a sense because 2 is so balls to the wall nonstop. I love number 1, I still do, but 2 to me is better than 1. I just think it flows better, it's faster, it just doesn't wait for anything. You go back and watch 1 now, I thought that thing was nonstop. I'm like, there's a lot of holes here of just waiting for stuff to happen, whereas in 2, you're not waiting for anything to happen, it just happens. So yeah, John Wick Chapter 2. Chapter 3 is coming in here in a couple years. I'm so stoked. Probably next year it'll pop up. 2019, I'm guessing. And I cannot wait to see where they left us off in number 2, where it takes us in number 3. So, hell yeah. John Wick, number 8.
Yeah, man, I gotta agree. That first one, too, came out of nowhere, to steal Randy Owens' quote. I mean, I remember, the trailer kind of popped up, a month or two before.
And I'm
like,
advance.
All right, whatever, John. Keanu Reeves, all right, well, maybe. And then hearing reviews, people being like, no, see this now. And then watching that first one, and this one, a lot of hype. A lot of hype to live up to, because, again, you just have that kind of, at least for me, that scared feeling of, don't ruin the first one. Don't be that crappy, unnecessary sequel.
Right. And
it's not. Like I said, honorable mentions, maybe my unofficial number 12 kind of, and it's hard to, do these lists because of stuff like this, because I want to talk about John Wick 2 myself, but, yeah, again, just action-packed, and yeah, that third one, man, the way it leaves off, I'm ready. I was like, makes you wish it was a TV show and you could just binge that next episode.
That's what I'm saying, man. And there is TV show talk on this show, so we'll see where that ends up taking us. But yeah, great movie, man. The realism of it all is what gets me, from the headshots to just, when Keanu gets his ass kicked in this movie, he's hurting the rest of the movie. He's limping, he's bleeding. Like, it ain't like John McClane, in Die Hard 5, where he falls 10 stories and just gets up and walks away unscratched. You see the pain, you see the agony, and you feel it, and I love that they keep that realism going in. And that really helps that, the director and the writers are stunt guys, so they know how to make the stuff work.
And that's what makes it work so well. And him and Common had some great stuff in that, too.
Oh, yeah, the Common stuff is great, especially when they're shooting the silencer guns at each other from the top level to the bottom level, and the people walking don't even realize that these gunshots are going off, and they're just like, dink, dink.
Yeah, some great
dink.
stuff with Common in that.
All right, my number 7 is another one you've already mentioned, you've already talked about. Coming in number 7 for me, pretty close to where you had it, is Wonder Woman. So you had it at 8, right?
Yeah, 7, 8.
So I have it at 7. Wonder Woman's great. Like I said, I've been a big fan of the DCEU. We've talked about this before on my show. He's a hater on it.
I'm not a hater. I just don't say great.
But I love Man of Steel. I like Suicide Squad. I like Batman v Superman. So I've been a fan of this universe. And Wonder Woman, like we talked about, Gal.
Gal what?
Gadot. Once again, how can you not fall in love with her? I mean, she is just... she was amazing in Batman v Superman. For a lot of people, she was the highlight of the movie. And in the little nugget that she's in it. In the Solo movie, she just melts your heart. And you're just like, you follow her story. And you feel for her. And you feel for her relationship with Chris Pine, like you said. And just everything, man. How it all comes together. How naive she is, and just the action's great, and when she fully embraces becoming Wonder Woman, it's just so incredible. I was really blown away by this film. My daughter loves this film. We've watched it a bunch of times, and it's great to have that female role model out there that these girls can attach to now. DC beat Marvel to the punch with the solo female superhero, and Wonder Woman is the way to go, so, you've already talked about it. All I can add to it is that it is a fantastic movie, really from start to finish. Yes, the end villain gets a little bit more typical superhero-y, but it's still a great fight. It's still pretty cool when she fully realizes her powers, and it's really just a magnificent film that hits on all levels. So, Wonder Woman, for me, right there in number 7.
Sounds good to me.
And coming in number 6, I believe this was another honorable mention for you, but it hits my number 6, and that's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This was the kickoff movie to the summer. This was the first big May release that started the summer movie season, and I love it, man. This is another divisive one that some people were like, oh, it's too funny, it's too, going for the jokes, and it's too this and that. You know what? It's what made the first Guardians of the Galaxy so great. They just turned it up another notch. And this goes back to like what we were talking about with Kingsman. Everybody says they did too much new shit in the second one. And it's like, okay, I love that. I don't want the same first movie all over again. The first movie's awesome. It is probably the better overall film, but it was an origin story. It was bringing the team together. It was bonding that friendship. People forget Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in the timeline really only takes place like 6 months after the first movie. So it's not years later. They're still trying to figure each other out. They're still trying to be a team. You got Baby Groot, who is incredible. Now, Groot took care of Rocket in the first movie. Now we got Rocket taking care of Baby Groot. And just, we get all this different thing. Kurt Russell coming in as Ego. We get introduced to Mantis, who's great. Yondu has an even bigger role in this one. Mary Poppinjaw. Just great stuff, man. This movie's so funny. Dave Bautista kills it as Drax. Everybody hits on all levels. This is one of those great ensemble films that every character is awesome. Like, nobody bugs me in these films. It's a fun ride. The action's there. Once again, the heart is there. When that family dynamic is there between them all. And it's funny as all hell. And I absolutely love this film. I think I saw it 2 or 3 times when it came out. Marvel never really disappoints, and they came out the gate hot with this one, so it makes number 6 for me.
Yeah, buddy, I enjoyed it a lot too. Like I said, just like John Wick 2, those last few in my list, so hard to order, because movies are obviously so different. It's hard to say this wasn't as good as Ingrid Goes West, obviously in a completely different way.
I know. How are you gonna say Ingrid Goes West is better than Guardians of the Galaxy?
Because you can, but I kind of want to. I like a diverse list, and I enjoy them equally, obviously in a different way. But yeah, Guardians, it's a lot of fun, man. I do kind of agree with your first point about what other people say. I do think, to me, some of that humor did fall flat, though.
Oh,
I was in a big theater, and not a lot of it, maybe not a lot of it, but some of it didn't get over, and I kind of found myself kind of, all right, waiting for the next scene. But there are some great set pieces. You mentioned Yondu. They're continuing to build this universe. You got the cameo from Sylvester Stallone, and, I did enjoy it a lot. Like I said, very, very close to getting in that list, and part of me wishes I did have it, because I was so looking forward to seeing this group back together, and I'm looking forward to the next time we see this group back together.
It's going to be great.
Am I going back now?
Yep, we'll flip it back to you. That's my 10 through 6, and here we go, back to Jordan for the top 5.
Top 5 of 2017 for me, number 5. This was a movie I was a little scared about because it's not superhero fatigue, but I was having Spider-Man fatigue. Number 5 is Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't blame Andrew Garfield for the Amazing Spider-Man movies, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I'm sad he didn't get his trilogy finished.
You weren't a fan of either of them?
Not largely. Not compared. I wouldn't say either one of them made my top 10 of the year. Both of them. I think they were kind of flawed, and there's a reason we didn't get a third one. I think there's an easy reason why they, despite even making money, there was no third Garfield movie. And so I was just kind of like, let's put it to the side, people. Let's give Spider-Man a rest. There's plenty of other, superheroes out there, but Spider-Man makes money, so they got this Tom Holland kid. And I was like, oh yeah, he's in that beach movie with Naomi Watson, Ewan McGregor. But he's awesome in this, man. If you saw even just interviews and him at award shows coming up to this kid's really charming. Maybe easily, obviously, the youngest Spider-Man we've had. We actually truly have a teenager Spider-Man. It's not a 30-year-old going to high school. And the stuff with him and Michael Keaton, oh man, there's some great tense moments, and sometimes not even them in their suits as their characters. There's a tense moment in the car, which is one of the most tense moments in the movie, and it's literally Michael Keaton driving them to prom or whatever, or homecoming.
It's a great scene.
It's a great scene, man, and it works. And this movie, again, just so much fun. I really enjoyed it, and now I'm going from Spider-Man fatigue to give me some more Spider-Man. We got that little glimpse in Civil War, which was that first glimpse. All right, this seems fun. Let's see what more you got. You even got an alternate version. You got an alternate version of alternate angles in this movie from that Civil War scene, which was fun. Robert Downey Jr. pops up here as a supporting character, hitting on Aunt May, which is always fun.
Hot Aunt May.
Hot Aunt May. Anything about Spider-Man?
Yeah, Spider-Man is in my top 5 as well.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that a little bit more here, but yeah, awesome movie.
Number 4, this is one I do question. I think you liked it. It might not be in your top 10 though. Baby Driver.
Not in my top 10. No. I was actually disappointed in this film.
Oh so, no! Get out of town.
No, it started off good, got slow as shit in the middle, and I did not like that.
Story building, my friend.
But then picked up again at the end. Yeah, I know everybody seems to love this film. I know I'm one of the minorities of it. But hey, I watched it with my wife, and she didn't care for it either. So it's not just me. But
no, you can say that for every movie.
But overall, it was good. I mean, I wouldn't ever put it top 10 material.
Top 5 material for me. Number 4, Baby Driver. Man, I love. Did I say I love Edgar Wright? Because I love Edgar Wright, man. I
sure did.
I really, and I liked Ant-Man, but man, I wanted to see Edgar Wright's Ant-Man. I really did. I want to see him.
He probably would have fucked it up.
You say that, but man, I'm telling you, man, give him a superhero movie because guess what? Okay, I'm gonna spoil it. Number 3 is Thor Ragnarok. Taika Waititi, was he someone that I think a lot of people were like, yeah, give him a superhero franchise? No, but how awesome was Thor? And that's why I think Edgar Wright would be a great fit for that. Going back to Baby Driver real quick, though. Just an interesting and a different movie, man. I'm gonna talk about another movie here pretty soon. Not trying to spoil my list. I think he's just different. I'm gonna hold on, but I'm saying I love something different, like an Ingrid Goes West is why that's my number 10. Because these are movies that it's a unique spin. The soundtrack, obviously, if you see the trailer, you know what this is about. It has a wonderful soundtrack. It plays into the movie. This thing is shot so with such a speed, and like if you've seen Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead, you can tell it's an Edgar Wright film, and that's a great thing. And again, just a wonderful.
Is it though?
It is.
Is it?
And it's a movie that also too now. Man, Kevin Spacey's great in it. I'm sorry, but
we don't mention that name.
I know.
I'm gonna have to beep this out after.
Kevin Boop is really great in this movie. It makes you sad because man, that guy's awesome in this, as well as of course
the best part of this movie is the Michael Myers mask, because that scene does crack me up very well. That they were told to buy Halloween mask, and they bought Mike Myers, Austin Powers mask instead of actual Mike Myers. That shit's hilarious.
And then there's a few really funny moments in this, as well as some dramatic moments. And again, Baby Driver number 4. Anything else about Baby Driver?
My biggest memory of it is just about 15 minutes into the movie and my wife saying, "This dude Baby is such a douche." And I said, "Yeah," because he was fucking douchey as fuck.
Ansel Elgort, how dare you?
Yeah, it was pretty lame. Just the way he was kind of just being all arrogant and walking around town, listening to stupid music and kind of being like, yeah, to everybody.
You didn't have fun with that? You had the opposite reaction.
It was cheesy as shit. It just didn't make sense. There's several moments in this film, I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's several moments that don't really flow with the whole point of, like, they set up rules at one point, but then totally disregard them later in the movie. And, like, Kevin Spacey says one thing, and then 2 scenes later is like, "Oh, I'm going to go ahead and go the opposite direction," even though I just totally was a dick about it 2 scenes before. Just kind of does a lot of contradiction on itself, and that kind of bugged me a lot. But like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But like I said, overall, it was a good movie. It would definitely not be on my worst list of the year, but
not.
Definitely not a top movie either, though.
Oh man,
I can't believe you made your top 5. But
top 5, man. But, and then sometimes it's been higher, sometimes it's been lower.
Okay, I'm gonna guess your number 3 is Thor Ragnarok.
How did you, dude? You know me well.
Taika
Waititi and Thor Ragnarok. And again, this is a movie, man. I like the first 2 Thors. They're fun, but I don't think in any way are they the best superhero movies or the best Marvel movies out there. But I started getting excited about this when I finally just saw What We Do in the Shadows, maybe a year ago or so, and like that movie with a small budget is directed greatly, and the way they hide the special effects is just fantastic. It's also a really funny film as well. If you have to check that out, check that one out. And this movie, I mentioned it with Force Awakens, man. I don't think I stopped smiling or laughing almost from the beginning to the end. You're probably laughed more at this movie in the first 5 minutes than you will at half the comedies that came out this year. This thing is super funny. It is freaking beautiful. It's a dazzling, again, if you haven't seen it, at least watch the trailer. If for some reason you're not into this, and this further proves, man, I mean, like, people keep talking about superhero fatigue, but man, if you keep making them like this, and Spider-Man and Wonder Woman...
I want to know these people that are complaining about superhero fatigue, because I haven't met anybody yet, and the box office does not show any sort of box office fatigue, so I think this is just something people like to say, but there's no such thing.
I get the idea, because there is so many now in a year. Like,
it's only going to get more.
And I know, and I think at some point it might happen.
They're the only guaranteed hits for the most part.
It's finally becoming a retread, but so far, man, like, they're finding different ways of just making these things fun, and this is kind of a different Thor than we've seen. Like I said, it's very funny. You get all the characters you've seen from the past. Hulk's in this, that great scene. It's a friend from work and everything. Just, it's so much fun, man. Rice Darby, the character he voices, is fantastic. Just, I enjoyed it a lot. Anything about Thor? You gonna talk about it later? Tell me you're talking about Thor later.
I don't want to spoil it. So.
All right. I hope we hear a little bit more from
we'll
Thor.
talk about Thor.
Because God, I love this movie, and again, this was the top movie. 3. I'll take Baby Driver out, but not the discussion, but I'll leave that at a solid 4. That's top 3. I could flip flop on you. It's hard. Number 2 now, I hinted at it before just about being something different. Can you guess? Something different.
El Camino Christmas?
El Camino Christmas. Tim Allen and Vincent D'Onofrio. No.
Netflix original.
Netflix original. There's a couple of good flavors. Anyway, number 2 is Get Out. Movie from January, man. Directed by Jordan Peele of Key and Peele. I was excited because I love me, Key and Peele. Mm-hmm. And I was excited. I was like, all right. And if you listen to him in interviews, this dude's got a smart vision about himself. I liked Keanu as well, which they co-wrote together, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking forward to this from the get-go. I was like, all right, he's doing it. He's not in it. He's just focusing on directing and writing it. And it's got an interesting, trailer, interesting script, all right. And this movie, again, keeps you interested. I love it. Some great twists. Daniel Kaluuya in a fantastic breakout performance from one of my favorite character actors. Bradley Whitford is great in this. Catherine Keener is always good. You got comedy from Raul Howery, however you want to pronounce that. Again, it's just a really fun, unique movie. I almost don't want to get into it because if for some reason you haven't seen this, it's literally a year later and I'm still thinking and talking about this movie.
Right.
Which also I think gives it a lot of credit because... in January, I do hope we get some Oscar love too, man. I think this could easily get like a screenplay nomination if they remember.
Well, it was nominated for Best Comedy at the Golden Globes, so we'll see how.
And it's funny at points, but I don't know about comedy or being nominated for Best Comedy. But The Martian and whatever. But
yeah, The Martian was hilarious.
It was funny though. I do argue that The Martian made me laugh a lot.
Okay, stop. The Martian was not a comedy. Let's not get into this.
No, you're right. I'm just saying The Martian did make me laugh a lot. Number 1, baby.
Well, let me say, about Get Out.
Oh, Get Out. Let's talk about that.
Get Out is not on my list, but it would be an honorable mention. I was floored by this movie.
Yes.
Really, really loved all the twists and the turns. Daniel Kaluuya is awesome. I had only known him from the Black Mirror episode.
I know him at all.
On. Yeah, and which his Black Mirror episode's great. He's going to be in Black Panther in a couple months, so glad to see his star rising. Big fan of Key and Peele. Obviously, Peele, when I first heard he was directing a horror movie, I was like, really? Like, it seemed weird to me.
Yeah. But
he killed it. He pulled it off. And now he's one of the most sought-after directors on the market. So congrats to him. Awesome movie. It'd be hilarious in its own right to see it win for Best Comedy at the Golden Globes. But, glad to see that they were just trying to fit it in somewhere to give it a nomination. So... well deserved, and Get Out is definitely one of the best movies of the year.
And I concur. You ready for number 1?
All right.
You ready? Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, number 1 for Jordan Pierce Owens is Logan.
Ooh.
Oh man, Logan, boy, did I have some expectations for this, and they were met in I'd say just about every single way. Ever since I was a kid, bro. Loved me some X-Men, and of course, number 1 for me since day 1, before there was any movies, before I ever knew who the heck Hugh Jackman was Wolverine. I loved Wolverine, and we got it in the year 2000. I was only 10. I loved that first movie. I think the second movie is one of the best super movies out there. United, I love that one, and Hugh Jackman just stole our hearts as Wolverine. But unfortunately, we got X-Men Origins Wolverine first. His first spin-off movie. It killed the Origins thing. I believe there's supposed to be a Magneto movie and more coming, and there was no more Origin stories.
Well, they worked that Magneto Origins into X-Men First Class.
Which was also fantastic, and a great cameo by Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
And but then we got that sequel, and the one in Japan, and it's a pretty good movie. And then we had this one coming out, and people were saying it's the last one. It's kind of based on that comic arc, Old Man Logan, and it's again something different. Again, like I was mentioning before with Thor Ragnarok and Wonder Woman, this goes in a different way. This is R-rated. The besides like a Blade or like a Deadpool, which is more of a raunchy comedy to an extent, this one is probably the most serious X-Men movie we've had. All the X-Men are dead, basically, except for him and, like, Professor X, who, a great performance by Patrick Stewart, is also fantastic in this. And I just enjoy this, man. The relationship between him and the little girl, played by, I believe I have written down here, Daphne Keane. Yes, right. Daphne Keane. Again, like we're mentioning with the It actors. Mm-hmm. Great performance by a child here.
And she doesn't even talk for an hour and a half of the movie.
So. Something that could be a make or break kind of thing in this movie if that kid sucked, but she doesn't. And it just adds to it, man. And you are just with Logan, wishing him the best in this dire of straits. And a great side performance there by one of my favorite comedic actors, Stephen Merchant.
Yeah.
Is also really good in this. But at first I was like, is that Stephen Merchant? And I just loved it, man. I had high expectations for this because I wanted this to go out with a bang. You know, this is Hugh Jackman's last movie. I wanted him to get that great performance. And he deserves all the accolades, man. Good luck to the next guy that gets to play Wolverine. Yeah. Big shoes to fill, buddy.
Massive shoes to fill. Logan is fantastic. I think we might be hearing about this one again.
We better be.
Just an amazing movie, and hopefully he will get some Oscar love here.
That'd be cool.
That we'll find out soon. I know.
Don't you think he deserves it?
I think he deserves it. I think Patrick Stewart could deserve it.
Yes.
I think the movie itself deserves it.
It won't happen though. Sadly, I don't think so.
I think something of Logan will be nominated, whether it's for you, whether it's for just overall best movie. I do have a good feeling that they're going to remember this one when it comes down to it.
I hope so.
Too many people have it on their top 5, and for it to not hit. So we'll see. We will see. But we'll get back to Logan in a second. All right. So good top 10 there. We were actually closer on a lot of stuff than I thought we'd be.
Brings me back.
My number 5 is something that you did not mention, and I'm very sad.
Oh.
But this is a movie that I've waited for my whole life. And we've mentioned a little bit about this universe earlier tonight, of how everything has come together. And there was even a theme song called Come Together. This movie, once again, divisive on accounts. But for the most part, more so critics compared to fans. I think they were also troubled with a lot of things, and they did what they could. In the end, though, I had a blast with this film. I thought it was a ton of fun. I saw it multiple times. Can't wait to buy it when it comes out. And I am talking about Justice League. So Justice League makes my top 5. I will say right now, it saddens me that it's not number 1. Because this easily should be my number 1. This was, if you go back and listen to our Am I Still in the Air Most Anticipated Films of the Year podcast, which came out like last January, Justice League was my number 1 most anticipated film of the year. Yes, even more than Star Wars. Like I said, I've been waiting my whole life for this. We have the Avengers. I've always been more of a DC guy. As much as I love Marvel, it was always about Superman, Batman, and the whole gang. So I've been waiting for this. I know a lot of people were kind of thrown off by Batman v Superman, stuff like that. I loved it, and I was waiting for the next chapter. And like I said, it was troubled with a lot of things. Zack Snyder, unfortunately, had a family tragedy and had to drop out. And Joss Whedon stepped in. And some people call this movie kind of almost like a Frankenstein cut, because you have 2 different director visions coming in with 2 totally different goals, trying to make it work. And I think they were very successful for the most part. Like I said, for me, the biggest thing is fun. When the team is together, it works. It works on all levels. Where I think they fucked up was they hid Superman the entire time. From all the marketing, he wasn't on any posters. They tried to act like he wasn't in this movie, and it was just kind of silly because any of us that knew anything knew he was going to be in this movie. I think it was a missed opportunity. I think they could have done more from a marketing standpoint with adding Superman to the mix. I would love to see a director's cut someday. I would love to see Zack Snyder come back and say, this was my vision for the film, and see how much is different. I would love to see some kind of extended cut, because if you go back and you watch all the trailers, there's a ton of scenes in all the trailers that are not in this movie. And I'm like, where's that scene at? Where's that scene at? Where the hell's that at? Lots of cool stuff, too. The Kevin Tsujihara, the guy that runs Warner Brothers, mandated that this movie be 2 hours in runtime, which I think, for me, hurt it. it works on one hand because the pacing is very quick and it just kind of goes, and it's over. But to me, I think that's where a lot of those deleted scenes went, because we really got no flushed out backstory for Flash, for Cyborg, for Aquaman. There's a ton of background to those guys, being that it's their first movie appearance of all of them. We were teased in Batman v Superman. They didn't have solo movies before to set them up, so they needed more kind of background, and it's just kind of glossed over, and they're just introduced, and you just go with it. Like I said, they did what they could with it. To me, once again, the countdown comes from my feeling, and even though there's issues, and even though things could have been better, and I wish that I could see what the original cut was, I still walked out very, very happy. I still thought it was a fun film. Even my wife, who has not enjoyed really any of the DC movies because they've been too dark for her, besides Wonder Woman, came out saying she loved Justice League. And I actually heard her recommend it to a friend, and she actually loved it more than Thor Ragnarok and some of these other movies. So I was like, damn, okay, cool. So they got through to people with this movie that weren't fans of the earlier portions. Like I said, this is one of those divisive ones that when you go to Rotten Tomatoes, critic-wise, this movie's like 42%. Fan-wise, this movie's like 84%. It is a massive swing on the fan side that people aren't paying attention to. So if you were somebody that was interested but maybe shunned away because of just past DC stuff, give it a chance. I think you'll have fun with it. It is a lighter-hearted movie. There is a lot of humor to it. The action's great, and you get to have some really cool stuff. The biggest downfall for this film is the typical CGI villain kind of thing that we've talked about before. That's the biggest hole for me. But overall, like I said, when the team is together, it's something definitely to see. So, Justice League coming in number 5 for me.
I enjoyed it as well, man. Again, top 20 for me. And I think that shows, like you said, I wouldn't have been surprised before seeing this movie if this had been your number 1 of the year, because I know how much you wanted to see this, like you said, ever since you were a kid. And even I would say I'm a Marvel guy, but I definitely think Justice League is a big A-team. When I think of, the group ups more than Avengers, that just kind of came more later on in life. Oh, Avengers. But I had a lot of fun with this. You mentioned the villain. I think he literally says something generic, like, I just want to take over and see it burn. Like, he literally is the super generic, watch stuff get destructed kind of guy. But this is a lot of fun, and it even makes me question critics, where it's like, yeah, this is not the greatest, tightest film, but come on, man. Like, what more do you want from Justice League teaming up, some laughs, some cool fights? Why is this not a positive review? Even if it's like a B- C+ for you, how do you not end up giving this like a D or an F?
That's what I don't understand, to be honest, because before, Rotten Tomatoes actually held back their rating until the day the movie came out.
Yeah, which is weird at the time, right?
Which was weird, because there was no embargo anymore, so critics had already put out the reviews. I literally watched and read probably a combined 50 reviews on this movie, and never once came across one review that said this movie sucks, or don't go see it, anything. Yes, several of them said it has its flaws,
right,
but overall, I had a good time. This was a step in the right direction for DC. Go see it. So I'm like, it's going to do great on Rotten Tomatoes. And then when I saw it hit a 40%, I'm like, how? I still don't understand how every fucking reviewer I read dug the movie. At least in an upswing in Rotten Tomatoes, you have to fucking just give it a 60% or higher. Like I said, I didn't read anybody that was like, thumbs down, don't go see it. Even the harshest of the harsh, like Christian Harloff and all those guys, even dug it and said, go see it. Like, so I'm like,
I like the schmoes.
Hey, but they're harsh sometimes, especially Christian. It's very rare that he's just like straight out the gate, like, go see something. And they were on board with Justice League. Mark loved it. Christian was like, yeah, it was really good. Go see it. I felt like that was the consistent tone. So I'm just never understood where the 41% came from. because I didn't get that vibe from everything I was reading. But all right, let's move along. Number 4 for me, and this was a tricky one because, like you said, when you get up this high, this is where it starts to kind of be. I could roll the dice and probably flippy floppy this around very easily. Yes. No, it was Nutty by Nature 2. The Nut Job, Nutty by Nature. No, but this one, I struggled a lot with where to place this one. And like I said, for me in the end, it came down to my enjoyment level in the theater, my rewatchable factor, all that kind of stuff kind of plays in, right? So for me, even though probably technically it should be number 1, I put it at number 4, and that is Logan. So Logan falls at number 4 for me.
I'm out.
Like I said, if I was to, it is probably the best movie on this top 10 if we went straight by everything that goes with it. But Logan is a very heavy movie. It's very heavy. It's emotional. It's emotionally draining at times. I have a little girl, and when that little girl looks at him at the end and says, "Daddy," I fucking lost it. And I can't handle this shit. I do love it. I have it on Blu-ray. I've watched it several times, but it's a heavy ass movie. You're not really having fun. You're enjoying the ride. Like you said, Hugh Jackman has given his all for 17 years as Logan. Through all the ups and the downs, he has always brought it. In every movie, in every cameo, in everything he's done, he's been that one constant in an X-Men universe that sometimes forgets its own continuity.
Sometimes.
But Logan's always been that constant. Like you said, whoever fills his shoes is going to have a hard time. Which we'll see a new one, I'm sure, in the MCU now that they bought over and took over Fox. But Logan's an incredible film, and I do hope that he gets award nominations. I think it could be nominated for Best Film. I think he could be nominated for Best Actor. I think Patrick Stewart could be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. There's lots of great stuff in here. Just an outstanding film. I was blown away when I saw it. I was blown away by what Hugh Jackman did in this film, the emotion. Like I said, Daphne Kane, just what she brought to X-23. Everything works in this movie. There's some incredible stuff in it. And, it just, if it wasn't so goddamn heavy, it would be up there higher. Because for me, it really comes down to just that enjoyable factor.
I like the heavy.
This is one that I have to really be in the mood for, to be like, let's pop in and watch Logan. It's not for a good time.
I do see what you mean. Even when I rewatched it, I was like, I need a certain mood. My wife missed it when it came out in the theater, and I was so once I bought it on Blu-ray, we gotta watch this. And she was like, yeah, this is really heavy. It was hard for her to digest. I mean, because it wasn't your typical X-Men film and stuff. So, but they really did knock it out the park. James Mangold, shout out to him for his directing. Just really killed it here. All right. Number 3. And this is the newest movie on the list. You've already mentioned it on yours. Star Wars The Last Jedi. Comes in at number 3 for me. We just saw this like a week ago, and I can't wait to go see it again. I hope to go see it again this weekend. I want to take my daughter to go see it. I'm so excited. This movie, like you said, Force Awakens came out, put a smile on our faces. It took us back. This continued the journey, and what I loved about Last Jedi was there was no setup. There was no getting to know these new characters. Mm-hmm. There was no wasting time to develop all these new characters. It was just, boom, we're on the way. Poe comes in, we just start going right from the get-go. Gotta love Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac is great. There's so many cool stories in this thing. The way it takes you on all the characters. Watching Daisy Ridley's character Rey continue to grow. Mark Hamill reprising as Luke. Just incredible. I don't want to spoil anything at all because it is so new too. And it's still the number 1 movie in America, so I don't want to ruin anything, but the movie's just fantastic. This is another one that's divisive. How Justice League was, This movie's the flip side. Critics, 91%. Fans, 50%.
So I haven't even looked at that yet.
It is a massive switch on this one here, where critics love it, but the fans are very 50-50 on it. Which is crazy, because, like you said, I had a smile on my face from the second this thing started to the very end. And I just absolutely love this film. So I cannot wait to see it again. Star Wars did it. It makes me, once again, super excited to see Episode 9.
Yes.
Where do we take it? Let's roll, baby.
JJ's back too, right?
JJ is back.
Interesting.
All right, we're getting into the nitty gritty. Number 2.
Girls Trip.
I haven't seen it, but I do want to see it. I've heard very good things.
It's fun. It's fun.
I've heard very good things. That was a movie that when the trailer came out, I said, no, thank you.
Right?
I don't ever want to see this shit. And then literally, like, every dude on YouTube was like, this movie's hilarious. And I'm like, damn, maybe I do need to see it.
Every time that trailer came out, me and my friend, they go to the movies with almost all the time. I just looked at him, I was like, no, absolutely not.
No.
Not. Finally, I was like, I guess I'll see it.
Yeah. But I digress. Number 2. And I thought this was going to be my number 1 for a long time. And then it fell. Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay.
So Spider-Man Homecoming at number 2. I never had Spider-Man fatigue like some people did, and a lot of people did. I mean, and you can tell even with the box office of this one, because it started off good, but not like, oh my god, outstanding. But it had legs, and it continued week after week after week. Word of mouth, excellent reviews from both critics and fans. You know, like you said, a couple years ago, we get Civil War. We find out about this awesome deal that Disney and Marvel has made with Sony, where they can use Spider-Man if they want, bring him into the MCU. So we get introduced to Tom Holland. Now, going back real quick to Andrew Garfield, I really like the original Amazing Spider-Man with him. His kickoff movie was great. Number 2, not so much. But I really, really dig that first one. I understood why they recasted. Obviously, there was being in the MCU, they needed to do something different. They didn't want to confuse people that it was, did the Andrew Garfield ones take place in this universe? Yes or no? So it's just always good for them to just start over fresh, which is, why I totally believe that when they start doing X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that stuff, it's going to be brand new teams all the way across the board. So we get we get Tom Holland now, who makes his debut in Civil War and was just fantastic in Civil War. Couldn't wait for Homecoming, and Homecoming just knocked it out the park. Talk about fun. This movie is fun from beginning to end. It's got amazing action. It does have great heart, and it's got humor like crazy because it's Spider-Man, dude. We love Spider-Man. He does some great stuff. After watching this movie, I easily could say Spider-Man Homecoming is the best Spider-Man movie we've ever had. I think Tom Holland is the greatest Spider-Man we've ever had. He just nails both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And we do actually have a kid that's in high school that could play in high school for many more years to come, which is great. So I can't wait to see where they take this franchise going forward. Seeing him pop up in the Infinity War trailer was great. Knowing that he's going to be in, these future Marvel movies, plus his own, sequels, just killed it. This movie's so great. Michael Keaton, I gotta give a shout out to him. One of the biggest things that the criticisms that people give Marvel movies is, the villains suck. They have a hard time with villains. Vulture was badass. Michael Keaton killed it. You mentioned that car scene. That car scene gets me every time. It is a literal conversation in the car that has me tied up in knots, and there's no fighting, there's no suits, it's just a conversation, and you're like, oh my god, over the scene. He's so awesome, and he sells you on his mannerisms, his eye movements, just different things like that you're just like, wow.
Did you ever think he'd say the sentence, the Vulture was awesome too?
No.
Did not care about that character.
I hate the fucking Vulture, but Michael Keaton made it work. He was pretty badass. I love this movie, so... Yeah, and Robert Downey Jr. is in here. Iron Man's in here. I love when they bring in other characters.
Happy Hogan's funny.
Happy Hogan's great. It's always great to see Jon Favreau come back. Awesome stuff there. They sold the Avengers Tower. I'm thinking the Fantastic Four family is going to buy that bitch. Just saying. That's my thought. It's going to become the new Fantastic Four.
Chris Evans is Johnny Storm. Let's keep it.
Okay. So there we go. Now we got number 1.
The Mummy. Dark Tower. Baywatch.
Baywatch, honorable mention. Shout out to The Rock.
Snatched.
I'll give another honorable mention to Jumanji, because we just saw that too, and I loved Jumanji. Welcome to the Jungle. The Rock, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, they just killed it in this movie. So funny. Go check that one out if you haven't seen it. Great family flick. Good stuff. Definitely not Dark Tower. Fuck that movie. That would be on my worst list if I had one. Along with Father Figures and Geostorm.
Geostorm. Never even know.
All right, number 1. No beat around the bush. You've obviously probably figured out there's a movie missing here that we've talked about earlier tonight. For me, the number 1 movie is easily Thor Ragnarok.
Nice.
This movie floored me. I am a fan of the other 2 Thor movies, but they're not like in my top.
I agree.
Like, I think Chris Hemsworth is amazing as Thor, but I knew they were doing something different with this one. Taika Waititi coming in, being this comedy director, giving another twist on it, keeping it mainly in space, kind of giving it more of that Guardians of the Galaxy feel. Having Hulk come into it, bringing in the Planet Hulk storyline from, since they're not doing any more solo Hulk movies, they said, hey, we'll take this big Hulk storyline and we'll tie it in with Ragnarok, and we're going to make it funny. And they nailed it on so many levels, because Chris Hemsworth is so awesome in this movie. He is just funny from the opening scene to the end of the movie. He gets his hair cut, he loses his hammer. Cate Blanchett, we're talking about great villains. She was so awesome as Hela. We of course got Tom Hiddleston back as Loki. You got Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster. There's so much good shit in here. Carl Urban finally makes an appearance in a Marvel movie, even though I want more for Carl. But we had him in here as Scourge. Taika Waititi playing Korg. Korg was one of my favorite characters in the entire movie. It was so fucking funny. There's so much in this film. And then, of course, you have Led Zeppelin. The greatest song to play during a fight in a comic book movie, hands down, and we get it not only once, but twice in this motherfucker. And it is so badass both times it happens, because you're not expecting it. And when it happens, you're like, oh yeah, we come from the land of the ice and snow. It's so good. It just gets you revved up. You're ready to rock. Mark Ruffalo's incredible as the Hulk. Here we get to hear Hulk talk. He's a big baby in this movie, and it's so good to see kind of the dynamic between them. This movie hits it on every single level. And when I talk about how I rank these movies on my experience coming out of a film, dude, I walked out of this wanting to go right back in and watching it again. I had that grin from beginning to end. I laughed my ass off till it hurt. I went back literally within, I think I saw it at like 10 o'clock at night on a Friday, and went back again at like 10 o'clock in the morning the very next day and saw it again with my daughter. And then saw it a third time with my wife, and my daughter saw it again a second time. That's the first movie she's seen twice in the theater, and said, I want to see it again. It's so good. It's so much fun. It's just, I can't speak highly enough for it. If it was playing in the theater right now, I'd want to go see it again.
I wanted to see it again this week with you.
I saw it 3 times. It's worth every single penny. They killed it. It makes me so much more invested into Thor. I can't wait to see what he does in Infinity War. Being where Thor Ragnarok leaves off, where does it take us? So much good stuff.
Who are you guys?
I could talk all day about Thor Ragnarok, but it's so great, and the enjoyment level that I got out of this thing made it number 1 for me.
I absolutely love it too, man. Like I said, that bottom 3, man, so hard to pick. I mean, Thor Ragnarok just knocked it out of the park. God, I love that movie. I want to see it again myself, man. I look forward to owning that thing, watching it multiple times at home.
Yes.
Yes, just like I probably said the word fun a lot because that's obviously
it is a lot of fun.
But that is the epitome of fun, man. Like I said, from the opening 5 minutes, I probably laughed more than like most movies do in the entire 2 hours.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, I said it was probably one of the best comedies of the year that's not really set out to be a comedy. Because Thor Ragnarok probably has the most casualties of any Marvel movie.
Yeah, that's true.
There's very high dark stakes, but they keep it rocking and rolling, man.
And yeah, I overlooked Kate Blanchett earlier, man. Yeah, talking about villains or villainesses, however you want to say it. She's fantastic in this. She's
so
having
good.
fun. She's hamming it up a little bit, but not overly.
No, perfect.
It's great.
Perfect stuff. And she looks sexy as hell, so I'll take it.
That's probably the sexiest she's ever looked. Is that weird?
I agree.
Kate Blanchett is hella?
Yeah, I'll take it, man. It's because she had that dark hair, man. It works. All right, so there's our top 10s right there. We rock and rolled it on through. Go ahead and run your full top 10 down one more time.
All right, guys, let's do this top 10. Number 10, I had Ingrid Goes West, followed by number 9 at War for the Planet of the Apes. Number 8 was Wonder Woman. 7, Stephen King's It. 6, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Number 5, Spider-Man Homecoming. 4, Baby Driver. 3, Thor Ragnarok. 2, Get Out. And my number 1 was Logan. How about you, Mr. Mega?
Yes, so here's my top 10 once again. Number 10 was Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Number 9 was It. Number 8 was John Wick Chapter 2. Number 7 was Wonder Woman. Number 6 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 5 was Justice League. Number 4 was Logan. Number 3 was Star Wars The Last Jedi. Number 2 was Spider-Man Homecoming. And number 1 was Thor Ragnarok.
That's not too bad. That's 6 out of 10 we agreed on.
6 out of 10, not bad.
Not bad at all.
I thought you were going to have some way bigger foo-foo movies on there.
I really enjoyed Gifted with Chris Evans. That was close. God, I like that movie.
Hey, it looks good. I did not watch Gifted, but I do love me some Chris Evans.
I know we don't want to do worst lists, but I just want to say my number 1, Chips. Hated it.
Chips was pretty fucking bad.
Oh my God.
And I love a cheesy, over-the-top, R-rated, raunchy movie.
Yes.
But fuck Chips.
Oh my God. And I
fuck
did,
Chips up its stupid ass.
For the record, I have tried it twice.
Yeah,
it was on like HBO or Showtime. I was like, you know what? My expectations are now bottom level. Not many better, man. Dak Shepard and Michael Pena, like you said, in a raunchy comedy. Maybe this could be like 21 Jump Street. Am I right?
That's what they were going for.
No. Oh, and then that El Camino Christmas reconnects Dak Shepard and Vincent D'Onofrio. So check that one out.
No, Chips had a good cast. I dug the trailers when it came out, but I missed this one in the theater. Thank God now. But,
I saw this in theaters.
But when it came out, I was like, ooh, I need to see this because everybody was shitting on it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to probably love the fuck out of this thing. And I did not laugh one fucking time. I did a couple little throughout it, but never gave me one solid laugh. And that's pretty fucking bad in a movie like this.
Yeah, I was thrown off even from the trailers, but I went, all right, well, it's R-rated. Good stuff's got to be in the movie. Not really.
No. Ugh. Yeah, there were some bad ones this year. But yeah, we're going to keep it positive. We're going to end on a high note.
Lots of goods, too.
Lots of great stuff. Lots of honorable mentions. Go out and watch some damn movies. There's good stuff all around. But yeah, that's 2017, 2018. We're going to have a lot of more great titles coming up. Faux show.
Deadpool, baby. Deadpool's coming.
Deadpool 2. Lots of Marvel films. We got Black Panther coming up.
Yes.
Of course, Infinity War, which is going to be just probably the greatest movie of all time.
Those three right there. I don't even know how to rank like my most anticipated anymore.
Yeah.
Like this year was tough. I was like Thor, Justice League, Logan. Like anticipating and the best stuff. It's hard to do, man.
There's so many. I don't even want to start getting into it because we'll be here for another hour. But
number 10.
Yeah. But there you have it. That's our top 10 movies of 2017. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Jordan, what's your social media? Where can people find you if they want to follow along your journey?
I wish you had asked me earlier. I got to write this down. Twitter, J Pierce O. J as in jerk, Pierce as in how you pierce your ear, O as in oh my. I also got a YouTube, guys. I should use it more. It's the Pierce Co. I have some stand-up comedy on there. I have some short films. Some of them are actually sad and pretty deep. I was showing your stepdaughter. She wasn't that interested. So check me out on there. You can add me on Facebook. I add everyone as well. Jordan Owens. I have so many fake friends.
So there you go. And of course, you know where to find us. You can follow me on Twitter at DXDonMega and follow the show at Am I On The Air. Of course, amiontheair.com, where you can listen to the regular podcast as well as all the Am I Still on the Airs. Of course, reddragonsradio.com as well. It's always streaming there 24/7. Yeah, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and have a great new year. I hope you enjoyed 2017. If you haven't seen any of these movies, we obviously highly recommend that you check them out.
All of this
sooner
list, check it out.
Rather than later. Check out the list. That's what they're here for. And we'll talk to y'all next time. So have a great night. Have a great new year. Till next time, y'all. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Red Dragons!